In the rolling countryside of Kent, England, where green fields stretched beneath cloudy skies, lived an elderly woman named Agnes Miller. For most of her life, Agnes had been the very backbone of her family. She raised 3 children in a small brick house tucked beside a quiet road. She was the one who cooked every meal, washed every shirt, and stayed awake through countless nights when fevers ran high and money ran low. Her husband, William, passed away far too early, leaving her with a profound grief, but never a trace of bitterness. "Family is all we have," she often said, her voice filled with a quiet strength. The years rolled on, one season blending into the next, and Agnes grew older. Her hands, which had once cradled babies and tended gardens, stiffened with arthritis. Her eyesight, which had watched her children take their first steps, began to weaken. Yet, through it all, she never complained. Her children, meanwhile, had grown up and found what the world called success. They had careers, nice homes, and busy lives. Her youngest son, Paul, came to her one day with a gentle suggestion. "You shouldn't live alone anymore, Mom," he said softly. He convinced her to sell the old house, the very place where every single memory lived, and move in with him and his wife, Linda. Agnes, trusting her son completely, agreed. She sold the house that held the echoes of laughter, the scent of her baking, and the ghost of her husband's smile. From the moment she stepped into Paul and Linda's modern, sterile house, everything changed. It was a subtle shift at first, like the slow turning of a page. Linda would let out an audible sigh whenever Agnes tried to start a conversation. Paul, the son she had adored, started to avoid her gaze, his eyes always seeming to find a spot on the wall just over her shoulder. Soon, the requests became more direct. She was asked to stay in her room when guests came over, as if her presence was an embarrassment. Her meals became smaller, often just leftovers brought to her door. Her voice, once the heart of her home, grew quieter. Her very presence felt inconvenient. One evening, as Agnes sat in the quiet of her room, she overheard a conversation she was never meant to hear. The words drifted through the thin wall, sharp and cold. "She's slowing us down," Linda said, her voice laced with frustration. "We can't live like this forever," Paul replied, his tone heavy with resignation, not love. In that devastating moment, sitting on the edge of her bed and clutching her wedding ring, a painful truth washed over Agnes. She was no longer family. She was a responsibility, a burden. A week later, the final act of this quiet tragedy unfolded. Paul drove her to a small care home on the dreary edge of town. The building was gray and unwelcoming. "It's just for a little while, Mom," he said, his voice betraying a hint of relief. "Just until we sort things out." Agnes simply nodded, her heart too heavy for words. She watched his car pull away, a small part of her knowing the truth. He never returned. Days bled into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The care home was as cold and impersonal as it looked. It was understaffed, and the air was thick with the scent of disinfectant and unspoken loneliness. Agnes shared a cramped room with strangers, all her life's belongings now condensed into a single, small drawer. But even in this desolate place, her spirit of kindness remained unbroken. She shared her tea with a roommate who was feeling low. She listened patiently to the rambling stories of others, offering a gentle smile when words failed them. She was a small beacon of warmth in a cold, forgotten corner of the world. A young caregiver named Hannah started to notice her. While others rushed through their duties, Hannah took the time to sit with Agnes every evening. She listened, truly listened, to the stories of Agnes's past, tales of love, loss, and incredible resilience. In turn, Agnes saw something familiar in Hannah's eyes, a deep-seated loneliness. Quietly, without any fanfare, Agnes began to help her. She offered words of encouragement, maternal advice, and sometimes a little financial help from a hidden source. "You see, what no one knew," not her children, not the care home staff, was that Agnes had been saving money for decades. Small amounts, carefully squirreled away from sewing work she did on the side, from babysitting neighborhood children, and from a lifetime of frugal living. It wasn't a fortune, but it was hers. She had never spent it, always saving it for a purpose she hadn't yet understood. She was waiting. Years passed. Agnes's body grew weaker, but her spirit remained sharp. One day, knowing her time was short, she did one last thing. With a trembling hand, she wrote her will. When Agnes Miller finally passed away, her children arrived at the care home. They were polite, their grief well-rehearsed, their expectations palpable. They had come for the inheritance, assuming whatever their mother had left would naturally be theirs. The lawyer cleared his throat and began to read. The room fell silent. Every penny Agnes owned, her savings, her small investments, and all her remaining assets, had been left entirely to Hannah, the caregiver who had treated her not as a burden, but as a human being. Paul received a letter, the last words his mother would ever write to him. It was short and piercingly clear. It read, "I gave you everything when I was strong. When I became weak, you gave me away. Love does not disappear, but trust does." Of course, the children contested the will. They fought it in court, their sense of entitlement fueling their outrage. They lost. In the months that followed, it was as if a cosmic balance was being restored. Paul's business, built on a foundation as shaky as his character, collapsed. Linda, seeing no future with a failed man, left him. Their carefully constructed lives unraveled completely. And Hannah? She used the inheritance exactly as Agnes would have wanted. She opened a small, beautiful assisted living home, a place that was warm, kind, and humane. A place where residents were treated with dignity and love. She named it Miller House, a lasting tribute to the quiet, forgotten woman who had changed her life. Agnes Miller never raised her voice. She never sought revenge. She never begged for the love she was owed. She simply let life respond. When you abandon those who carried you, you abandon the very future that was meant to protect you. Kindness is always remembered. Neglect is always recorded. And in the end, life has a way of balancing the scales. Thanks for watching, and if this story touched you, please subscribe for more.